What's up, friends, family, internet fanatics? It's your boy Pat Hilton and Ty Lasater, bringing you another Cash Cast, baby. Cash Cast coming in fast. Relative info on investments that will smash. Miss out on this, you'll be coming in last. Acoustic force, bringing the intro blast.
Hey, this is Vanilla Ice, and I'm chilling with my man, Ty Lasater. And I want to tell you, one command: stop, collaborate, and listen. Key City Capital is about to throw down. So get it how you live it, and always remember, Cash Cast, baby. Bet.
I have had a number of sellers that have told us that we got the deal because we touched their property, we touched them, we had marketing to them, we were in front of them more often than our competition was.
So we're back. We're in the house. Key City Capital live. How you feeling, dude?
Dude, I'm feeling
You
fantastic.
had a busy morning.
Busy morning.
Mr. Magazine Star here, guys.
Right?
Mr. Magazine Star.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So yeah, busy morning, busy week. Working on that 70% relationships this week. And so because of the branding that we've been doing, because of we were talking about it earlier, getting out of our comfort zone and doing things that we're not. You talked about this yesterday, right? Like, what feels good is not always what is best for you, for your business and
Absolutely.
everything, right? And so, like, it feels good to sleep in until 6:30, 7 o'clock. It feels good to not go to the gym, to lush eat instead. It feels good
Sit by the beach instead of doing social media updates.
Like, for me, it's like, it feels good for me to just sit down in my office and find something to work on. Right? Like, get in a bubble, and that's the easy thing to do, though, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing for you is what is hard, right? And so because I've been working on relationships, 70% of my time has been focused on my relationships and things, working on a new partnership opportunity with my business coach. And so today I was at one of his events. We were launching the release of magazine ad that I'm in, magazine article, nationwide, worldwide magazine that we've got an article in there about the new generation of real estate millionaires, right? And kind of what it takes. We've got social media, we've got the internet that makes it so much easier to do business in multiple different places and gives us the opportunity to do real estate deals and raise capital and bring in your own materials from other places, right? And get cost-based materials. And it makes the internet makes it so much easier to do that. But we were at this event this morning, and I'm going to be traveling with him for the next 3 days this week. So be out of the office and out of my comfort zone. We're going to be doing events, and so we're going to be doing events together going forward. And so his company is going to start hosting a number of our events for us, live events and things
cool.
like that. So what that does is it allows us to bring in his network and the following that he's already created into our business and the opportunity to sell products to that network, right?
Absolutely.
And so he actually talked about that in his event this morning, right? About, buying and selling businesses and creative ways about going about that. Well, sometimes a business may be somebody's black book, right? Little black book, right? You may be buying a business solely maybe it's for just the staff, because the staff and the systems and processes that a company has created may be phenomenal, but they don't know how to brand themselves. And so their sales aren't very good, but they've got a team that runs very, very well, right?
Right.
And so I've done deals, I've partnered with people and bought businesses before just for the sole purpose of the systems and processes that they have in place. But then we implement our branding strategy so that we can drive the sales volume,
Absolutely.
right? Or maybe you're buying a business or partnering with somebody just because of the network and the database that they already have, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's something that we're working on. We're working on releasing a couple of new products that we're going to go live with, and some new events. And so those will be coming in the next few weeks. We'll be announcing those. But, the thing that has brought those on the most, these opportunities, is first working with those relationships, building those relationships, and then building a brand, right? If you don't have a brand, like, nobody cares about you personally, right?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you may go, like, I've been to events when I was in South Africa. Well, when I went there, nobody knew who Ty Lasater was.
But you got to show up to get the blow up. You got to
That's
show
exactly
up to get
right.
the flow up, or whatever.
That's exactly
however you
right.
want to say it, whoever's terms you want to use. We just talked about Linkin Park and Jay-Z. Very alternative or opposite style
Music.
maybe fan bases
Right.
that they promote to, but when they merged on that Collision Course album, it was a good album.
It was, yeah.
That encore track was sick.
Exactly. And what they've done and what they did in that situation is they each had their own type of following, like you said, right?
Right.
But what that does is that alienates themselves from other potential clients or following or sales, right?
Right.
And so if you go so niche, you leave so many opportunities out,
Right.
right? And so, you know, if you're known as we were talking this morning about the hip hop preacher, right? So the hip hop preacher, well,
E.T., I love him.
yeah, that automatically alienates a significant portion of opportunity or potential fans,
Yeah, it
right?
could.
Because you're only going to get a set portion. Or if you're known as a, you know, we talk about this all the time. Like, I'm a
He is
business
really
person.
good, though, by the
Oh,
way.
he is. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right? But
I get
so
it, though,
there's
by
business
name
people,
wise, if you've
right?
never heard him talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
I
just
get
thinking about the name. So if you brand yourself as businesswoman or, you know, a specific title,
Right.
then you're alienating yourself to only, you know, 50% of the market or whatever it may
Right.
be. Right. And so what we've done there and what Jay-Z did with Linkin Park was, okay, you've got a following and I've got a following. How can we collaborate together
And make it go wider.
expand?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Right?
awesome.
And so, you know, you were talking about earlier how you adapt, right? Sometimes you have to adapt to maybe to a potential partnership opportunity, or you have to adapt to somebody who may be more successful than you but has an opportunity for you, or you have to adapt to a different style to reach a different culture, right? So
Right.
when you go into a different country or you go into a different state, even here in the United States, like you got to have situational awareness, right? Like you wouldn't show up and sell from a stage or do something like that in Arizona wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt, right? Like that, you know, you've got to have situational awareness like that, right? And
That
so,
would not be a smart
right. And so, like when you're using stories to implement, and like I played football in college, right? And so in America, everybody understands American football, right? And so I can utilize that story. But when I go into South Africa or some, Spain or something like that, like you can't talk about American football. You have to talk about football, soccer. They think of it as soccer, right?
Right.
And so you have to have situational awareness and adapt to that and understand. And so one of my coaches, I was talking to him this morning, he actually chooses his tie by, if he's in the States, he chooses it by the city that he's in, what their most famous sports team colors are. So when he's in Dallas, like he was wearing a blue tie today. So we'll be in Charlotte. He's going to wear a turquoise tie for the Charlotte Hornets, right?
Interesting.
But when he goes international, well, soccer is more prevalent. So he
Way
takes
bigger.
the country's soccer team and wears a tie that is that color,
matches.
the dominant color, right? And so that's just situational awareness. That's
Well, it's
adapting.
almost like it's a mental, it'll click with the mental of the people in that area. You know, if you're in Portugal and you're wearing whatever the Cristiano Ronaldo
exactly
team
what is, it,
is,
yellow or
whatever
green,
it
yeah.
is, I'm sure that there's people that are going to recognize that.
Exactly.
And it's going to resonate with them.
It will, because they see that team and that's what they watch all of the time, and then they see that on his tie and he's like,
Wow.
oh, okay, you know, it's little subtle things like that trigger someone's brain subconsciously to be more engaged.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we were talking about it too. And when I really wanted to take what I do as like a musician and as a producer and as an entertainer and merge that with working with business owners and investors and, you know what I mean, whatever else, I had to figure out how to take my personality and integrate it into other people's systems
Right.
and other people's, core groups of people. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with continuing to stay in my lane. We talk about that. It's very important. But at the same time, how are you going to integrate? What adapt? You got to adapt. You know,
Right. It's part of the image thing today. Look
I had
at you,
I had
Code.
the Captain America shirt on last week. You know, but we're
Right.
trying to jazz it up because we're trying to promote ourselves a certain way here.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. No,
But
we want
it's
a
just the way
professional
it is.
following, and if we want a professional following, we have to position ourselves as a professional.
Right. And when I show up, I play at 10X Growth Con. I'm wearing the suit. That's why I got
Right.
the suit.
Yeah.
If I show up, I'm getting married to my wife.
Right.
I'm wearing my suit to the wedding. You know what I mean? I'm not going to show up with the Captain America shirt on.
she might be a little offended by that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, so different faces for different places.
Exactly.
That's part of the game. And again, back to that, there's a rapper I know who wears a different basketball jersey for areas that
For
he's
the
in.
areas
I
that he's
never
in.
even thought of that
Yeah.
until you brought that up.
Yeah, and that's unique that you bring that
Constantly.
up with musicians as well, because a lot of the times they'll take that, like, so my buddy Rob, Vanilla Ice, when he does an event now, so he's doing the 90s tour, back to the 90s tour or whatever.
Which is
but
packed every
It
night.
is every single time, and I've been to a number of them here recently. We've been to Denver, we've been to New Orleans, we've been to Florida, and we've been to here in Dallas and Fort Worth, and each of them are packed. But every time he's at a location, the one in Minnesota recently was, I think there was like 10,000, 12,000 fans there.
Wow.
But when he's there, his entry song onto the stage, when he comes onto the stage, he drops into his lyrics the location where he's at, right? And so
Right.
he changes the
He
lyrics just a
switches
little
that
bit
up.
just to include the city where he's at, right?
And that's even before he gets on stage. So
Right.
before he's even giving them the songs that they already maybe know the words to, he's including them in the performance, which
Exactly.
is super smart.
Yeah. And so now, you know, like with social media, with the internet, and it's very easy to it is very easy to build a name. It's also very easy to lose that name and to lose that brand.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But at the end of the day, like when you go out of your, you know, like here in our local market, like I'm decently well known, but to the other big real estate players, right? Not to people who may be just getting an interest. They may not know that, right?
Right.
And so, and then you start getting outside of your network, right? And your image is just smaller and smaller and smaller. You get outside of the country, like people don't even know who you are, right?
Right.
And so when you show up, and like I get this all the time, well, I don't know who you are. Well, my response is I don't know who you are either, right? But I'm the one that ends up having a picture with Mel Gibson or with Vanilla Ice or something in the presentation, right? And so that's what creates that brand knowledge, right? When Chanel started out, or when Lancome started out, brands like that, they weren't known. So I was watching Wolf of Wall Street this week, right? So my wife and I were watching that movie, and something, you know, really cool about that, I started researching it, is Steve Madden was unknown. Nobody knew who Steve Madden was, right? Until Steve Madden happened to know somebody in Jordan Belfort's company, right? And then, you know, albeit it wasn't a legal process the way they went about doing it.
Yeah.
But they used Jordan Belfort's following and his company's following to drive his company public when they went public, right?
Wow.
And so Steve Madden was nobody. Nobody knew who he was. And then you use that branding by association, and it just explodes, right? And so you've got celebrity branding, you've got branding by association, and then you've got like media branding and what the media says about you, right?
Right.
And so those are three very distinct criteria and different bullet points into branding, right? And so, you know, we've talked about this before. You know, Lancome, Chanel, the big Macy's and Nordstrom's type brands and things like that. Retail brands, they use celebrities, right? So no matter where, whether it's on TV, whether it's in an airport, it's on still print, no matter
They
what
do.
the print is,
Instagram.
it is a face that is well known, that is advertising their product
Constantly.
And if you look at some of the celebrities, like if you'll look at natural pictures of a celebrity versus the picture on that magazine or on that print ad, they look totally different, right? They look like maybe a normal person, just any other normal person. You might not even recognize them without the makeup on, right? But then they put them on front of that magazine and they look like they do in the movie, right? And then everybody recognizes them, right?
Interesting.
And so if they look like a normal person outside, like, well, why is Lancome not using you as the marketing, as the ad, right?
There you guys
well, it's
go.
because nobody knows who you are. They
Right.
know who Julia Roberts is, or
Well,
whoever
absolutely.
it may be, right? And so it's the same thing, no matter what your brand is, no matter what you're trying to sell or what you're promoting, when you utilize a face that is known, it resides easier to your audience because they can relate to it, right?
And trust.
Exactly.
They can
It
trust
builds
it.
trust. Right. I mean, that's exactly right.
If I'm trying to make it in soccer, Like I said, Ronaldo, man, I want to be working out with Ronaldo.
Right.
That's who I want to be on Instagram with. Taking, hey man, we just hit the workout. I want
Exactly.
Ronaldo in that picture.
Exactly.
I cannot think of an international superstar, maybe David Beckham,
Right. Yeah.
that's
yeah.
bigger than Ronaldo right now.
And so like when I was in South Africa, my business coach actually has a relationship with Nelson Mandela's grandson.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so, well, what better known name in South Africa than Nelson Mandela? So when I go there, like I had pictures taken with his grandson first, and then I utilize that in everything that I do. Right. And so now that creates that trust. Right.
Absolutely.
That creates that awareness with the audience that I'm speaking to. Right. And so, that's the celebrity branding, but then you've got branding by association, which I was talking about, like with Steve Madden, right? So Steve Madden's nobody, but then he goes and he utilizes a network that Jordan Belfort already has, right?
Yep.
Or, in the situation that I'm working on this week and the partnership opportunities I'm working on there, well, I'm going to be cross collaborating. I'm going to use a network that my business partner will already have, right? And then he is going to leverage the value that I will bring is he's not going to have to do as many events, right? So I'm going to come in and I'll step in and I'll offer more events so his volume can increase and stay as strong as it is or maybe even stronger as far as volume. But we're going to use a network that he's already built out as well, right? To grow my brand quicker, right?
Right.
And so that's branding by association. But with that, I'm going to have to be able to adapt, like what you talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Right? I may have to tweak some of the things that I do.
So that it applies to his audience.
Exactly, because he's already built an audience that's successful. He's created a system. He's created a brand. He's created a business that's already successful, right? So we're going to have to adapt that. Now we're going to bring in new facets. We're going to bring in new opportunities. We're going to bring in new programs, right? And it'll be some of the programs that we offer, but we need to adapt those and adapt it into the brand that he has set up, right?
Right.
And so that's just part of situational awareness.
I'm telling you too, a lot of these guys with the rappers today, way more collaborations than like when we were growing up.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of solo tracks. Like most of the hits only had one vocal. It was like the main guy and his record. It was his hit. But now everyone's on everyone's tracks.
Exactly.
That little Nas X guy.
Yeah.
And Billy Cyrus.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Huge song. And it's like a country
I can't
rap
stand
song.
it, but like you put the two together, right, and they've got a much bigger audience.
That guy's crowd, because I've been watching the Stanley Cup, 2-2, by the way, you guys, 2-2. That guy's crowd was way more hype than any of the other.
Oh,
artists.
absolutely.
Way more
And
hype.
so you bring up a fantastic point with that. Like I've actually started when I listen to music now, and I'll listen to new artists or old artists and stuff. I've actually started thinking about that, right? And like what is bringing on new artists now? And so like Lil Pump. Like I don't really listen to his music.
Not
and
my
stuff
favorite,
like that,
but
right?
it's huge.
But what did he do?
online.
Like he went in, he created a relationship with somebody who was already way more
Yeah.
successful. He did what he had to do to build that relationship, to grow that relationship, spend whatever money it took for that relationship to then promote him.
Exchange,
right?
yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's exploded. And another one is Shawn Mendes. So 4 years ago, like Boone and I were just kind of starting to get successful. And so I started going to some more live concerts and things like that. And so my wife and I took our oldest daughter, for her 4th birthday, for stage side front row seats to Taylor Swift. Like I am not a Taylor Swift fan, right? But
she's good.
She's very good. Puts on
Yeah.
a phenomenal show. But what I saw though was I actually got to see Shawn Mendes before he was really Shawn Mendes, right?
Interesting.
And so
I didn't know
then
that he even
followed
played
him.
on
Yeah.
her
And so
tours.
he played on her tours. He was the lead on her tours or whatever. Came out and he played for a while before. My daughter was actually asleep before he was done playing, so she actually missed Taylor Swift. Right, and this was a loud concert. We're
Well,
front
right.
row, right, and it's at the American Airlines Center and all that stuff. And like she was asleep, but so I was sitting there just like my business mind is like running, like
Right.
what's going on here? And so she actually created him, right, and helped his brand grow.
Absolutely.
Right, and so you see that
That's as
all
big as it
throughout.
gets on
It
the
is
touring circuit.
exactly right, and so you see that all throughout artists and things like that.
That's interesting. I had no
It is.
idea.
It is.
He's really actually a great artist.
Yeah, he's very good. I
Yeah.
listen to his music more than I do Taylor Swift's. But
Right.
But I mean, it's just very interesting. Like it takes one person, one opportunity, and one deal to just grow your business.
And again, those are
beyond
huge
what you
examples of top-notch names that are out there blowing
Exactly.
it up. And it doesn't matter if it's your favorite or if it's this or that. It's the respect. I'm older now. I know how hard it is to even get to that level.
Exactly.
And even harder, or the hardest thing about getting to that level, is maintaining that level.
Yeah. Well, so like,
And even growing it. She's grown and grown and grown and
Oh,
grown.
yeah.
From like this, young, pretty little country artist to like this huge pop icon.
right. So I mean, I don't know what the stats are in music for, how many people that think that they're going to start out in a music career and actually make it highly successful like that. But like in
Right.
sports, you've got however many high schools across the nation. Then you've got a couple of thousand colleges, right? So I played football in college, right? So if you look at quarterbacks, so if you have 2,000 colleges and you've got 2,000 starting quarterbacks, right?
Gets pretty narrow.
How many NFL teams are
Right.
there? There's 32. And each NFL team carries 2 quarterbacks that may play, and then they'll have a third, right? They'll have a third string typically. So that's almost 100 quarterbacks out of 2,000 colleges.
And that's every year that those people are coming out of those
but yeah, and then you
schools.
think, they're coming out every year.
So
but
if
then you look at the
somebody's
teams,
hot,
you've
you're
got
not
Tom
gonna
Brady,
take their job.
who's been there for 12 years
That's
or
what I was
whatever it
gonna
is. You got
say.
Drew Brees. You've got Cam Newton. You've got all of the hot quarterbacks that stay there. If they make it for a career, that's 8 years for a career in the
Yeah.
NFL, right? And so, you sit there and you look at that and you're like, well, the opportunities are so small, right? And so then it's in business and entrepreneurship, what I found is you've got to find somebody who is at the level that you want to be. And then
Right.
do whatever it takes to build that relationship and grow that relationship so that opportunities will present themselves.
And it's, again, I bring it up because I've never really chased down a business guy like I did with Grant, because
Right.
I feel like my personality and my energy and my hyperactivity and all these things that people said were disabilities and
Right.
were issues and they're going to hold you back actually were strengths for him, because he puts himself out there a lot.
It is. So you bring up a really cool point.
And again, he was the one that was like, hey, if you're a hustler, come and find me. And
yeah,
that's
and he
exactly
promotes
what I
that. He
did.
promotes that,
I
right?
went and I found him at a hotel, and that's how I got that gig.
Yeah. So I talk about talent sometimes, but it's the same thing in you had talents, and what that is everybody is born with God-given talents, no matter what they are, right? Sports athletes are born with a God-given talent, but they don't become a professional if they don't learn how to maximize those talents, right? And then it typically takes in sports athletes or in musicians, these people that are high octane professionals at what they do, they all have coaches. Like you look at LeBron. LeBron has a health coach. He's got a nutritionist. He's got a physical
Tim
fitness
Grover.
coach.
I've met Tim
Yeah,
before.
he's got a fitness coach. Then he's got position coaches. Then he's got his coach for the Lakers coaches. Right? There's multiple coaches on the Lakers.
Yeah.
Then he's got financial coaches for his financial businesses outside of what he's doing in business in
It's a
basketball.
lot of like tactical.
Exactly, right?
Lining
and so
up the success.
It's those type of people that bring your talents and turn them into successes, right? And hone your talents so that you know how to utilize them. And so I've noticed that in just our short time working together, I've noticed that in you, that like you had a very big personality when I met you, right? And what I found is like you've adapted to different situations that you're in, right?
Right.
And then you come into a very professional atmosphere like what we have, and you've adapted very, very well. And like, Boone brings up a number of points every now and then, like, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you done this? Or have you done this, right? And you make those little tweaks. And now all of a sudden you've got this huge personality. We bring it on to a podcast and live shows like this, and then it really hones in and it makes a successful show, right?
Right. Because
you've learned how to take the God-given talents that you were given and then adapt them to a situation that you're in and make it successful.
Of course.
Instead of just take what some teacher told you or somebody told you and says, well, this is a disability. Well, it may be a disability in a classroom if you don't learn how to utilize it, but that's
Right.
because it doesn't pique your interest. When you find something that piques your interest and then you surround yourself by people who can help take those interests and give you the knowledge that it takes to make that into a success, then you can figure out, well, how do I use these God-given talents and become more efficient at whatever it is that I'm doing.
Absolutely. And how can I use these skills I've worked so long to develop to bring value to the business?
Exactly.
Bring value to the quote unquote marketplace.
Right.
That's a popular term these days, but it is true. And then what happens? Well, now I've got more time to make fun Instagram content
Exactly.
for me and for you. And for this and for that. That time opens up. So I'm able to develop my craft more because I'm bringing more value into the marketplace.
Exactly. And so then the last part of branding that I want to talk about is, media branding and how you get into the media and how you can utilize that. Like, you can't just walk out tomorrow and start calling up media agencies and say, hey, I want to be, posting your magazine or
You could
on your
try.
website, right? And so, we issued a press release for our private equity fund. We released a press release for our coaching business, our real estate business. And what happens though for that, you've got to start building a name for yourself first. You got to start building a following,
Absolutely.
right? Because these media places already have a following. So they don't want to share with their following somebody who's not successful, right? And so when their following starts looking up the person on the cover of the magazine or on the front of their news article or whatever it may be, and there's nothing there to see, well, then that reduces that media outlet's following, right? And so I think on our press release, we had 1,700 agencies that picked us up across the United States. And so, that's TV agencies, news agencies, local newspapers, local radio stations, and things like that. So it's a big mixture. But one of them was this global magazine, right? And so how that works is like we've built a brand for ourselves. We've built a name. And so I've got an individual brand, the Lasater brand.
Right.
We've got hCa Capital brand. We've got hCa. We've got Legacy Builder Organization, our coaching organization and everything. So we've got different company brands as well. So you have a personal brand, then you've got a company brand, right? And so those have to build a strong output. You have to have success there before you can go out and then start bringing in the media.
Buzz.
Right, exactly. And so that's what the celebrity branding does. It bridges your time before you can get in front of media places, and then the media places push you out there and then grow your following that much faster, right?
I love
Because
it.
each media organization has a significant following that's gotten them there
Absolutely.
over years of their success, right?
Especially in like local markets, because I know where I grew up in St. Louis. I mean, this woman, I think her name's Cindy Pressler, was there forever.
Right.
Everyone knows who Cindy Pressler is.
Exactly.
And then when in San Diego, there's a woman who's on the show every morning and like does the weather and this and that. Everyone knows who she is in the entire area. So when I did a song on the CBS San Diego News or whatever, people were like, "Oh, I saw you on with whatever April O'Neil or whatever her name is," and I'm like, "Oh man," they related that to her. And so many people at the festival that I played at that we promoted and this and that and the other thing recognized me from her almost more than the news station.
Exactly. But there's got to be a purpose in what you're doing, right? Because if you're
Absolutely.
just going out and you're just putting your name out there everywhere, like, does that convert, right? You want it to convert at the end of the day to sales. Like, business is about
Absolutely.
sales. If you don't have sales, you don't have a business.
Tons of calls for acoustic gigs after I was on that news station.
Right? And so, like when you put yourself into the media and stuff like this, well, first of all, having, your face and your name there and your article in input into those media opportunities, well, their following doesn't know who you are, right? And so you've got to figure out a way to bridge that gap, right? And so that's where you then use your celebrity branding. So like if we look at our article here or at my article, so I use pictures, with known names. So it's me and Vanilla Ice sitting here.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here discussing business ideas, right? And so now as somebody's looking at that, like they may not know who my face is, but this news agency is putting it out there. And so now that all of a sudden sets you as an authority in whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
But then they see you sitting next to Vanilla Ice as he's getting ready for the Vanilla Ice show, and we're talking about real estate and doing business together. Well, then now there's the celebrity aspect to that as well,
Absolutely.
right? And so it helps build that credibility, right? And then as you start building the credibility, then you start getting the trust of your clients, right? And so that's what the whole focus around branding is. You mentioned that at the very beginning.
Absolutely. You want to associate with people at the top of the game.
Exactly.
Taylor Swift, even as maybe she might be the headliner, but she wants the hottest up and coming thing playing before her.
Exactly. That's exactly
That's why
right.
she booked him.
Exactly
He must have had people that had his album coming out that she knew it was going to do certain things. Single that she liked, that she knew matched up with where
so he had
she
a
was
single,
taking her stuff into the pop. Where he was going, like that was a well thought out process.
It was.
She
he
knows
had
what
his big
she's doing.
single out, and it was promoting. I don't remember. Like she kind of discussed how she goes about picking her, the people that travel with her and stuff. But he had his single out, and then there was a couple of other reasons that she had chosen him, and it just took his single and turned it into where he was a platinum selling album.
I'm
right,
sure
at
it
that
did.
Point. So
good for him.
But
You
yeah,
guys,
so that's branding.
get it done. Any questions you guys have, hit us up in the comments section. We're online. And keep on doing what you do. And
Fantastic.
we'll see you guys soon.